So what is a quadratic equation? A quadratic equation is mainly anything that's written in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0, or any equation whatsoever that has x squared in it. So any equation that has x power 2 equals to a number, or any equation that has x squared x power 1 written in this form is considered a quadratic equation. This equation, or this form, sorry, is the most common form that we deal with. لما يبقى الموضوع equation ولما يبقى الموضوع we're trying to find the values of x. So whenever you're asked to find the values of x, you're going to have, or you'll try your best. عشان كده بنقعد نقول put x on, لما تلاقي x power 2 x power 1 خلي x power 2 and everything on one side equals to 0. ليه؟ عشان to follow this form here. So whenever it follows this form, it's easily solved. So how do I find the value of x? عندي two options. Option number 1, using the calculator. And you just go for mode 5, 3. And you put the values of a, b, and c, and this will give you the values of x1 and x2. So you just found the values of x. This is the first method, and it's the easiest one. The second method is the quadratic formula. Now, the quadratic formula is very important. It is the one that the calculator used actually to find the values of x. It's the one that we use to find the values of x whenever we're given the choices in the form of the quadratic formula. Now, what's that form? So the form says that x values are equal to negative b plus or minus square root, and under the root there's b power 2 minus 4ac, and all of this is divided by 2a. So it's a big formula right there. Whenever you see the choices written in a form where there's a root and there's something added or subtracted, so you think right away of the quadratic formula. You think of using the quadratic formula. But if it's not given in the rules, or sorry, if it's not given in the choices, there's no point really in using the quadratic formula if you're allowed your calculator, because then the calculator would be a much faster way to find the values of x. So let's talk about an example. So let's say, for example, we have x squared plus 5x plus 6 equals to 0. First of all, imagine, actually no, if it was equals to negative 6, then the first thing to do to find the values of x is to put it in the formula of ax squared plus bx plus c, which is the standard form. So it's better to put the quadratic formula of the quadratic equation in the standard form, which means we need to move this to the other side and put everything on one side, كل حاجة في ناحية واحدة equals to 0. Now I'll go to the calculator and just go for mode 5 and 3 and put the values of a, which is 1, b, which is 5, and c, which is 6, and click on equal. This would give me x1. Click on equal again. That would give me x2, and then they would be negative 3 and negative 2. So here you go right away, the values of x are given. Or I can do it by the quadratic formula. And the quadratic formula states that negative b plus or minus square root b power 2 minus 4ac, and all of this divided by 2a should give me both values of the x. And that's what we're about to do. So negative b, which is negative 5, plus or minus square root b to the power of 2 minus 4, a, which is 1, and c, which is 6. All of this is supposed to be divided by 2a, which is 1. Now let's start simplifying this as much as possible. 5 power 2 is 25. 4 times 6 is 24. All of this is divided by 2. That would get me to negative 5 plus or minus square root 1 over 2, which would then lead to negative 5 plus 1 over 2, or negative 5 minus 1 over 2. Once we start calculating those, this is negative 4 over 2, which is negative 2. And this is negative 6 over 2, which is negative 3. So you just have both x values given right there. So again, mainly two different ways to find the values of x whenever we have a quadratic equation. We either use the calculator, and in that case we use mode 5-3, we just input the a, b, and c, or we use the quadratic formula, which is this big formula right here, which we have to memorize. And one time we add it, and another time we subtract it, and we find both values of x, just like what we did as well here. Any questions in what we've discussed so far? Anything that seems to be شوية unclear, or anything you need to ask to organize the thought in your mind, like وترتب الحاجات دي فين and so on.
Mr.
Yes, يا حبيبي.
يعني الرول نكتب b plus square root b to the power of 2 those things دي بدل المود 5-3.
Yes, so it's either or, it depends on the situation. So it's either the calculator mode 5-3 or the quadratic formula. Both cases give me the same exact values, اللي هم x values of the x values, the solutions of the equation.
Okay, thank you.
Most welcome. So if you remember the solutions, we did give them lots of different names. We said they're called x values. They're also called solutions. They're called roots, x-intercepts, zeros. All of these are the same exact thing. So you can still use those whenever you're trying to find, you can use both methods whenever you're trying to find any of those things, the x values or the solutions or the roots or the x-intercepts or the zeros. As long as you're using this form, which is the standard form, which is this one right here, ax squared plus bx plus c, everything needs to be on one side equals to 0. Any questions here again? Now, sometimes you may get something like this. It's not really a quadratic equation. It's not really x to the power of 2. Instead, it's x to the power of 4 minus, let's say, 8x plus 12. But it's x to the power of 2. All of this is equals to 0. So now it's not really a quadratic equation. It's not x to the power of 2 and then x to the power of 1 and then number without an x. It's x power 4 and x power 2 and a number without an x. It seems very similar للquadratic equation اللي احنا عارفينها اللي هي ax squared plus bx plus c. But what's the difference here? And the difference إنه the powers are not the same. So what we're going to do is we're going to pretend as if the solutions of this, in each one of the solutions is considered x power 2 on its own. يعني ايه؟ يعني هاخد دي اروح عادي جدا على الكالكوليتر وهبريتند انها x power 2 minus 8x plus 12 عادي جدا equals to 0 وهعمل مود 5-3 عادي جدا وهجيب ال x values بكام؟ which will give me the x values as 6 and 2. Now الفكرة بقى ان انا دول are not really x values, those are actually x power 2 values. يعني x power 2 هي اللي ب 6 و x power 2 التانية هي اللي ب 2. Does this make sense ولا لا؟
Yes, بس هو احنا ليه ما ينفعش ناخد common factor؟
Because the x is not common between the 12 as well. It's only available here and there, but it's not common with the third term. فمش هعرف اخد x اصلا as a common factor. So هي دي المشكلة ان هي مش مثلا كله اتعمل times x وخلاص، لا هي x power 4 هي دي اصلا يعني not a quadratic فعلا function. But we can use the method of the quadratic function to get the answers of these two, and out of those نعمل square root لل6 و square root لل2, which will be كده square root الانسر will give me positive or negative root 6 and positive or negative root 2. Does this make sense? مش قوي. So we actually have a total of 4 answers, 4 x values. مرة x بنيجاتيف root 6، مرة x بpositive root 6، مرة x بنيجاتيف root 2، مرة x بpositive root 2. We have 4 x values. Therefore, it's not really quadratic خالص. It's x to the power of 4. And يعني I actually need you to ask more questions. This could help أكتر whenever you have شوية any questions that you need me to clarify. So let me show you one more example. Or one more theory. Imagine we have oh no, so okay. X to the power of 2 and then minus, let's say so is this a quadratic equation or not? X squared minus 13x plus 86. This is a normal quadratic equation, صح? Just like the one that follows the ax squared plus bx plus c, correct? Now imagine if I took this one and I put a power of 2 here, and then I put this one as well as a power of 2 there. The new one would become x power 4 minus 13x power 2 plus 36. Is that right? If I did for the first one power 2, for the second one power 2, huh? So whenever we're given something like this, what we do is we try to take it back. So we pretend as if it was something power 2 minus 13x to the power of 1 plus something without an x. So we solve it using mode 5-3 عادي. We solve it using, for example, here mode 5-3, and I'll put a equals to 4 and b equals to negative 13 and c equals to 36. Once you do that, you'll get x1 equals 9 and x2 equals 4. These are not just x's because it was originally جوه البراكت كان في x power 2. So I'll just take x to the power of, actually, no, give me a second. This is just a power of 2 here and an outer bracket there. Yeah. So this is actually x to the power of 2 equals 9 and x to the power of 2 equals 4, which then would give me x equals square root 9 and x equals square root 4. Square root 9 is equals to positive or negative 3. So that means I have x equals negative 3 and x equals positive 3. Square root 4 would give me x equals positive or negative 2, which means I have x equals negative 2 and x equals positive 2. So now I have a total of 4 x values, 4 x intercepts, 4 roots for this function. Does this make sense or not?
Yes.
Everyone, are we good or ايه؟ زياد وعلي ومحمد, we're good? زينة؟ Yeah.
بس حاول تلخبطها شوية.
طيب, ask a question.
هو قبل مود 5-3 احنا we pretended in x to the power of 2 negative 13 و x من غير power.
لا هو انا بس دي كنت بحاول اشرح لك بيها بس خلاص يعني if you got confused فيها never mind. خلاص never mind. Just يعني whenever you have x power 4 و x power 2 رقم من غير x, it's the same as a quadratic function. Use mode 5-3 عادي. You get those x values. بس we don't stop here. بس هو ده الفرق. we have to take each one of those ونعمل لهم square roots وناخد مرة positive ومرة negative الانسر. فاهمة؟
اوكي ايوه فهمت اكتر.
رتبها شوية.
Okay.
So يعني تاني for everyone what we're trying to do هو هنعتبرها عادي جدا quadratic طبيعية جدا. so هنروح mode 5-3 عادي. mode 5-3 هيديني ال x values. الفكرة ان I can't stop here. these are not just the answers ال 9 وال 4. لا الانسرز هم square root الانسرز دي مرة positive ومرة negative، مرة positive ومرة negative. و if for example واحدة من الاكسس كانت negative 3 then what do I do with root negative 3? what's the root of a negative number? What's the root of negative 9 for example? Anyone? So that brings us to the I, which is the imaginary number, which is the root of negative 1. So whenever we're doing square root of a negative number, the calculator would give us a math error. It would not be right. So instead, this is not done with a calculator. This is done with hand by hand. Root of a negative number, we just calculate root 9 ID on a calculator, and then we put the answer, and then next to that answer we put I. So anyone in the world, whoever sees I, they understand that this was originally a negative number under the root. They know that this whole thing is actually an imaginary number. It's not really there. It's an imaginary number. It's not a real one. While a real number is just any number without an I. So you'll find questions that says I equals root negative 1. We never ever substitute I بروت negative 1. عمرنا ما بنعمل substitution بروت negative 1 ever. هو بس بيديها لك عشان تفهم ان دي مش زي الاكس مثلا. دي letter معين معناه I which is an imaginary number. طيب what do we do with imaginary numbers? We calculate them عادي. So imagine if مثلا let's say عندي x to the power of 2 طلعت equals to root 12. What are the x values, even the imaginary ones? So in order to get the imaginary ones, or in order to get the x values, I just need to remove the power of 2 by square root to the other side. Now, square root of negative 12 is supposed to be math error, but because we deal with the negative numbers ID under the root now, so we're just going to write it down as I multiplied by root 12. مرة positive I multiplied by root 12 ومرة negative I multiplied by root 12, which means that now I'll consider that x is equals to negative I root 12, and then another time x equals to positive I root 12. These are the x values for this answer here. Even these are the imaginary x values for this number here. Does this make sense or not?
Yes.
Type. We need just to also learn how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide the complex numbers. So, and we did that before. So it's just it works just like the x's. If we have something that goes like this, two brackets and they're subtracted from each other, this negative sign will have to be distributed on the second bracket only, and we can now remove the brackets, the negative sign. Sorry, the brackets at all. And we just switch the signs of everything in the second bracket. Now add like terms together. So 3i and positive 4i, that's 7i. And then we have 3 and minus 2, and that's positive 1. This is your final answer. If we're talking about the multiplication, we just need to distribute right away. So let's say we have 4 plus 3i, and then multiplied by negative 2 plus I. We just have to distribute this way, just like when we distribute x's. 4 times negative 2, which is negative 8. 4 times I, and that's 4i. 3i times negative 2, that's negative 6i. And 3i times I, that's positive 3i squared. Now, any like terms should be added right away, so the negative 8 will remain as it is, while the 4i minus 6i will become negative 2i. Any I squared should be removed, وinstead هنسubstitute مكانها negative 1. So instead of this I squared, I'm going to put 3 times negative 1. That will lead me to negative 8 plus 2i minus 3 which will give me 2i minus 11. This is your final answer of the multiplication. Does this make sense or not?
Yes, but here should put negative 8 minus 2i minus 3.
Yes, why I'm sorry, I added them. I'm sorry. صح. This one is actually negative here. صح. So it becomes negative 2i minus 11 actually. Are we all good? أصعب حاجة فيهم الديفيجن. إيه ده ليه قفلته؟ لا ما كانش لازم أقفله sorry. So if we're dividing now. Let's say we have 4 plus 3i divided by negative 2 plus I. Please listen to the words دلوقتي carefully قوي, okay? What we do is we take the denominator اللي تحت بس وبنجيب له حاجة اسمها conjugate. بناخد ال denominator again وبنجيب له هنا بنكتب حاجة اسمها ال conjugate of it. What's the conjugate? ال conjugate هو نفس بالظبط ال two terms بس بغير لهم ال middle sign بس مش both signs, just the middle sign. فبدل ما يبقى عندي negative 2 plus I, it will become negative 2 minus I. So لو في أي وقت I asked for what is the conjugate of x plus 3 for example, the conjugate of x plus 3 is x minus 3. What's the conjugate of I minus 4? It's I plus 4. These are called conjugates. Anyway, we take the conjugate and we write it up و down. So باخد ال denominator بغير ال middle sign وبكتبها فوق وتحت. Now فوق I'll start multiplying عادي normally. I'll distribute as we just learned. So هعمل distribution 4 times negative 2, that's negative 8. 4 times negative I, negative 4I. 3I times negative 2 is negative 6I. 3I times negative I is negative 3I squared. اللي تحت بقى اللي هم زي بعض اللي هم الكونجوجيتس. في طريقة بسرعة نعملها بيها إن إحنا ناخد الترم الأولاني اللي هو النيجاتيف 2 ونعمله باور 2 which will become positive 4. واخد الترم التاني اللي هو الI واعمله برضو باور 2 وعلى طول no matter what it's always minus في النص. Any questions until this point؟ الموضوع طويل شوية. أي مشاكل لحد دلوقتي؟ أي I power 2 قلنا المفروض نشيلها ونحط مكانها negative 1. So this one المفروض تتشال ويتسبستيتيوت مكانها negative 1. This one برضو المفروض تتشال ويتحط مكانها negative 1. And that's what we're going to do. So هكتب ال negative 8 زي ما هي و I'll add negative 4 minus 6i which is negative 10i. وبعدين بدل negative 3 I'll now write it as positive 3 because it's negative 3 times negative 1. All of this is over. 4 و negative will become plus 1. Negative 8 plus 3 is negative 5 minus 10i over 4 plus 1 which is 5. Now كده أنا خلصت بس لازم split them. يعني هاخد negative 5 over 5 minus 10i over 5. And these apparently can be simplified. Negative 5 over 5 is negative 1. Or negative 10 over 5 is 2i. So this is your final answer. Negative 1 minus 2i. Does this make sense? This is a long one, so please ask if you have any confusion. طيب. خلينا نسحلكوا شوية في حل عشان تفوقوا. And let's actually try to solve أول حاجة خالص اللي هي quadratic equations. So if you head to Google Classroom, please, solving quadratic equations 1. This one has a total of 5 questions. Some of them include complex numbers. Some of them are just easy and others have the x power 4. and others are actually pretty easy. I think you can easily get them all solved. We'll discuss them all after you're done, inshallah, because I think there could be different ways to solve, I think, most of them. So we'll check the variety of different ways that you guys decided to use. Quadratic equations 1, and I'll give you for those 6 minutes. 6 minutes started. Starting with 17. It says, what is the solution set of the equation this? So this is one of the easiest. All what we need to do is to write it in the standard form. يعني لازم أمove ال 12 to the other side. So I'll have x power 2 minus x minus 12 equals to 0. بعد كده modify 3 فده يديني على طول ال 2x values. هيطلع this one بكبيرة negative positive 4 and negative 3. So it's B. Any problems here?
No.
طبعا there is another option إن أنا أجربهم by the way. I can substitute here negative 3 to the power of 2 minus negative 3 and check if it's equals to 12 or not. If it's equals to 12, then it works and I have to try the 4 as well. But this is a longer way, much longer way. We only refer to the use to trying out the choices when we don't know what to do. هنا بيسألني what are the solutions to the quadratic equation this. ممكن أعرف what did you guys think of؟ يعني ايه اللي جه في دماغكم؟ سيبكم من محمد، ما تقولش انت. شادة وزينة وعلي، ايه اللي جه في دماغكم يا حبايبي؟
I distributed two brackets مع بعض وبعدين عملتها more 5
اوكي. Now في اي ايدياز تانية؟ في اي حد جاله اي فكرة تانية؟
أنا I did the same. I did the same. بس وقفت كده في الآخر عشان كان في حاجة شكلها غريب كده.
اوكي.
عشان لا أنا عملت غلطة.
اوكي.
صح. أنا لخبطت الإكس بالآي.
شو شلتيها؟ حطيتي مكانها نيجاتيف 1 ولا ايه؟ اوكي. عادي.
عشان كده أنا عملت غلطة.
عادي it's fine. بس انا كده شايف ان دي اطول طريقة فيهم. المفروض بعد كل ده نروح لمود 5-3. وطبعا you see ممكن يحصل more than one mistake في النص because of the signs and so on. بعد كده this will give me x1 and this will give me x2. I think this is again هي تنفع بس it's a very long way. General بقى information أنا لما بيكون عندي أي حاجتين في الدنيا times بعض equals to 0 it's either إن الأولاني بزيرو أو التاني هو اللي بزيرو. There are no other options. So لما يكون عندي two brackets times بعض equals to 0 دي اللي هي اسمها الفاكتور فورم. ليه اسمها فاكتور فورم؟ because they're already factored. يعني انا كل اللي محتاج اعمله easier than كل ده ان انا اخد البراكت الاولاني اللي هي 2x plus 5 اعمله equals to 0 والبراكت التاني اللي هو 3x minus 4 واعمله equals to 0. I'll solve this which will give me x equals to negative 5 over 2 and I'll solve this which will give me x equals to 4 over 3. So negative 5 over 2 and 4 over 3 right away C without even the use of any calculators whatsoever. This would be the easiest, fastest, quickest way to do it. So this works. It definitely works and it is 100% true. It's just a longer way and this is the shorter way. And generally we need to always remember the fact that if you have two things multiplied by each other equals 0, then or even not only two things, if you have four things multiplied by each other equals 0, it means that one of them must be equals to 0 or more than one, of course, as we assume that each one of them could be equals to 0 and we can solve each one of them separately. Does this make sense ولا في أي مشاكل؟
Yes.
So is that easier?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Awesome. So moving to number 49. What is the solution set of this? This is the type of question we were discussing. So you have here x to the power of 4 plus 21 minus 100. If you go and do this on a calculator على طول mode 5-3 as it is. What were the x values؟ معلش ممكن حد يقول لي؟
4 و negative 25.
Okay, واحدة ب 4 واحدة negative 25. So this means in the x squared and x squared is equals to this, which means x here is equals to positive or negative 2 and here x is equals to root 25 وجنبها المفروض لا root 25 الأول which x squared is sorry x is equals to root 25 which then means that it's equals to positive or negative 5i. So I need مرة positive مرة negative 5 مرة positive مرة negative 2 يعني which means E is the correct one. صح يا شادة انت كنت تقولي نفس الحاجة دي بس عشان كان بيقطع في حتة في النص صح؟
Yes.
Everyone are we good ولا ايه؟
Yes.
Now moving on. For what value of n does the quadratic equation in this have solutions of x equals 4 and x equals negative 2? So this is the other way around. They already gave me the solutions and I need to find this. Now there are more than one way to do this. The first and easiest way is to substitute x with any of those values. So just put x with 4. 4 to the power of 2 minus 2 times 4 plus n must be equals to 0. And start solving that, which would give you this. Which then would give you that 8 plus n is equals to 0, which means that n is equals to negative 8. That's the easiest, fastest way to do it. Sorry, the easiest way to do it. Not the fastest, though. Because there's another thing that I wanted you to remember, please, is the fact that the standard form of the quadratic equation, which is this form here, if and only if a equals to 1, when this is equals to 1, b is considered the sum of the x values, but with the opposite sign, while c is considered the product of the x values with the same sign. What does that mean? It means that this number here, no matter what it is, it should be the product. So this is the product, and this is the sum. Remember, the sum is always with the opposite sign. So this one is supposed to be the product of the x values, which are these two. So if you just multiply negative 2 times 4, it will give you right away the answer, which is negative 8. That's your answer, right there. Because you know that this number here should represent the product. While if they were asking about this one, this is the sum of these two numbers, but with the opposite sign, which proves to be correct because 4 plus negative 2 is 2. But when you put it in the equation, it should be put with the opposite sign, and that's why it's written as negative 2 here. Does this make sense? This is a very important concept. Are we good with this?
Yes.
So these are the concepts اللي هو بنحتاج نشرحهم كده أحسن through a question more than anything else. Please remember this. This is a very important one.
بس أنا عملت أنا tried it كلهم ولا طلع لي بزيرو وعملتها اللي هي negative 8 يعني عملت
فاهم مود 5 3 يعني؟
لا عملت عادي عملت 4 power 2 minus 2 times 4 plus negative 8 ولو طلعت لي زيرو فهي دي الأنسر.
لا طب in this case بقى solve it as an equation كده هيبقى أسهل بدل ما try them out. يعني keep it as n كده وحطي 4 زي ما انت عملتي و16 minus 8 وبتاع وطلعي 8 plus n equals طلعي ال 8 n على طول بكام؟ يعني ودي ال 8 الناحية التانية على طول وسيبي ال n unknown كده هتلاقي ال n equals كذا. فاهمة؟
Yes.
ده if you're thinking this way. بس أنا بقول لك it's fine to think this way and it's correct and it's easy. بس I want you also to remember الحتة التانية دي إن هما النمبر اللي المفروض يكون اللي جنب الإكس اللي هو البي المفروض يكون السم of the solutions اللي هما دول السولوشنز بس بعكس الساين while السي هو البرودكت بنفس الساين. so هو لو مديني السولوشنز already وعايز السي بكام اللي هو الان هنا I just need to multiply them خلاص 4 times negative 2 خلصنا. فاهمة؟
Yes.
Perfect.
مستر
Yes يا حبيبي.
أنا في الكالكوليتر عملت substitute لل n.
بكام؟
Is that correct؟
بكام؟
جربت الأوبشنز اللي في
التشويسز نيجاتيف 8 ونيجاتيف 2 كده.
Yes.
طيب يعني حطيتي يعني حطيتي ال A، عملتي مود 5 3 وحطيتي A ب1 و B بنيجاتيف 2 ومرة حطيتي C بنيجاتيف 8 ومرة بنيجاتيف 2، ولا عملتي ايه؟
عملت ال A ب1 و B بنيجاتيف 2 و C بنيجاتيف 8
مم.
طلعت لي 4 ونيجاتيف 2.
طيب انت جربتي اول تشويس وطلع لك صح فقلتي هو ده الصح، ولا ايه؟ لا في حاجة غلط. هو انت فين السؤال؟ يعني اقصد انت ايه اللي ملخبطك دلوقتي؟ حاسسك بتلخبطك.
لا مش ملخبطة، يعني I'm just saying is that strategy يعني is correct.
It's correct بس it's still يعني long وشوية systematic. يعني هي اولا long لانه افرضي النيجاتيف 8 مش اول تشويس كان صح، افرضي الخامس تشويس كان صح، كان زمانك عملتي كده 5 مرات، فاهمة؟
Yes.
دي اول حاجة. تاني حاجة we still need to be able to move من one way the other way and the other way around. يعني لو أنا عندي مثلا يعني linear equation y equals mx plus b، لازم أعرف إزاي أخليها standard، والستاندرد إزاي أخليها slope intercept. لازم أحول من الحاجات لبعضها. so لو أنا عارف إزاي أطلع الزيروز بمود 5 3، مش لازم ارجع بنفس الطريقه. لو انا مديني الزيروز مش لازم انا اجرب مود 5 3 واشوف مين فيهم مديني نفس الزيروز. يعني مش لازم نفس الطريقه، لا في طرق تانية ايزير وفاستر، زي ان انا ارفع على طول ابقى عارف بقول لك ان الرقم اللي في الاخر is just the product، او ابقى عارف ان الرقم اللي في النص هو السم بعكس الساين، او ابقى عارف ان الزيروز دول هم الاكس فاليوز. طب ما انا ممكن اسبستيتيوت الاكس بالرقم ده، ما هم الاكس فاليوز، يعني هو مديني الاكس بكام، so just substitute الاكس ب 4 وخلاص، وشوفي الانسر هتطلع للان بكام. So there are more than one way to go back from this one. It doesn't have to be necessarily the same exact way بتاعت mode 5 3 اللي هي going forward. فاهم حاجة؟ طيب 59. What happened in 59؟ عملنا ايه؟ عملتوا ايه؟ على الكالكوليتر يعني.
Mode 5 3.
What did it get you? The answer is as it is على طول.
1 plus 4i و 1 minus 4i.
So as it is right away، ما كانش فيها أي حوارات. Now if this for any weird reason was given without a calculator in a SAT test or something, in this case we'll have to either think of two numbers multiplied by بعض ب 17, which then على طول gets you stuck because 17 is a prime number. There's no two numbers multiplied by each other ب 17. So whenever you can't think of a numbers اللي times بعض ب 17 و plus بعض ب 2, you have to go for the quadratic formula خلاص, and you don't have a calculator. So بس to try out and give you an understanding of how the quadratic formula here would be applied, it's supposed to be negative b, as we said, plus or minus b squared minus 4ac under the root all over 2a. So it's negative 2 plus or minus square root b, which is negative 2 to the power of 2, minus 4, which is a, which is negative 2, and sorry, a, which is 1, and c, which is 17. All of this is divided by 2. Now, negative 2 will give me positive 2, plus or minus. I'll calculate the part under the root. Negative 2 power 2 is 4. 4 times 17, 4 times 10 is 40. 4 times 7 is 28. 40 and 28 is 68. So it's negative 68. All of this is divided by 2. Then it's 2 plus or minus. 4 minus 68 is negative 64. All of that is divided by 2. Then it's plus or minus as well. Instead of root 6, negative 64, I'll put positive 8i. All of this is divided by 2 again, and I'll split those. So it's 2 over 2 plus or minus 8i over 2. That would get me 1 plus or minus 4i. Perfect. That's the exact same answer. It's a very long procedure, but that's how it was done always without a calculator. Are we good so far?
Yes.
Okay. Now, I want you to check this question, please, before we move to anything else. Think about this one, please, and try to get an answer. I'll give you 2 minutes. 2 minutes starting now. Perfect. This is a hard level question, so I hope you actually give it your best shot. This is this question يعني مش أكتر. The one you have in front of you now. A function f of x is defined by f of x equals 3 to the power of so and so. Time is up. Anyone got any close to an answer? محمد أنت جبت إيه الأنسر؟ اتش ممكن تقول لي إيه الحوار؟
إن علشان اسمه ده أي حاجة يعني أي رقم أو حاجة يدي 1 لازم يبقى زيرو.
الباور لازم يكون كام؟ أيوه الباور لازم يكون زيرو صح؟ صح. أوكي. Thank you أوي يا محمد ما شاء الله. This is perfect. So listen بقى يا جماعة please carefully. They want me to find I want f of x to be equals to 1. So this is f of x, which means I need 3 to the power of x squared minus x minus 2 all to be equals to 1. Now I told you قبل كده إن we can't deal with x في الباور unless the bases are equal. So لازم يكونوا كلهم 3 power حاجة. How can I make them 3 power حاجة? I'll change the 1 to make it 3 power 0. ما هي أي حاجة في الدنيا power 0 equals to 1. So مكان ال 1 هحط 3 power 0. Now since this power is equals to this base is equals to this base, that means that this power is equals to this power, which then takes me to another equation in x squared minus x minus 2 is equals to 0. Now I can solve this right away with a calculator using mode 5-3. And that would get you x1 equals to -1 and x2 equals to +2, which then means that H is the correct answer. Does this make sense?
Yes.
Is it a good one?
أنا فكرت فيها كده بس ما كنتش عارفة أكمل إزاي.
إنها
قلت إن البيس لازم يبقوا زي بعض.
صح.
كده بقى معرفتش أكمل.
هي بقى الحتة بتاعت إنه 1 دي هي دي اللقطة كلها، إن هو فكرة إن أي حاجة في الدنيا باور 0 ب1 دي حاجة أصلا بتتنسي وعمرها ما كانت بتبقى question on its own and it's not فعلا question on its own أهو it's part of حاجة لوحدها بنطلعها. بس كده كده برضو بصراحة يعني أنا شخصيا أهو لو في الامتحان ولقيت المنظر ده ومش عارف أفكر قوي I would still use الكوادراتيك فانكشن دي أعملها مود 5-3 anyway. يعني لو هجس بقى لو أنا هجس كده كده ومش عارف أفتي so I'll take this equation اللي x squared minus x minus 2 وهعمل لها مود 5-3 ولو لقيت الأنسر مكتوبة هنقيها كده كده. أي نعم this is طبعا stupid بس يعني that's when I'm stuck. Yes يا حبيبي.
انا عملت كده اصلا
وطلعت صح؟
اه
ماشي. انا بقول لك this works when you're stuck، بس ما تخليهاش هي الديفولت يعني، لانه ممكن اهو نفكر ونطلع انسر واديكي عملتي كده عادي. ماشي طيب. وكان مهم قوي بس بالنسبه لي كمان ان انا يعني ادسكس الكونسبت بتاع اللي هو حاجه باور 0 ب1 دي، وانه usually by the way كمان انا ما ينفعش expect randomly ان الايكويشن اللي فوق اللي هي x squared minus x minus 2 دي is equals to 0 مع نفسي. لازم المفروض يكون في حاجه قايله لي ان هي equals to 0 and the reason why is what we did. طيب الكومبلكس نمبرز بما اننا عشان شرحناهم فخلي هم دول اللي نعملهم، ونخلي ال fundamental counting principles المره الجايه. الفور questions اللي في الفورم اللي جايه دي are all about ال complex numbers، واحنا لسه شارحينهم كلهم. I'll just quickly remind you of one thing، ان انا generally عامه لو عندي اي bracket في الدنيا جواه حاجتين والحاجتين دول to the power of 2، المفروض اعمل الاولاني power 2 بعدين اسيب space شويه واعمل التاني power 2 وفي النص التلاتة times بعض. So لو عندي مثلا x plus 3 all power 2 هيبقى عندي x squared plus 6x و plus 9، ده power 2 ده power 2 وبعدين دول الاتنين 3 ولا 8 times بعض وطلعوا لي ال 6x. This applies on any two things inside the bracket power 2. Let's try what you can do, and those inshallah I think they're pretty easy, so you can do them pretty quickly as well. Since there are 4 questions in complex numbers 1, I'll give you 4 minutes. They're easy ones. 4 minutes for the 4 questions of complex numbers 1, starting right now. Oh, they didn't help me actually think about the question from the beginning. The only word that actually could give me some sort of a movement is the word undefined. Whenever I see a fraction and it's undefined, I get على طول and this must mean that the denominator is equals to 0. And I showed you how the sequence after that went. This is all not planned. This is all صدفة. So all what I did is إني فكرت قلت ما دام ده undefined يبقى أكيد دي بزيرو. And then I saw another D here. So قلت خلاص يبقى أكيد ABC equals 0. And then I saw AC equals 1 بالصدفة. كل ده everything of that help يعني came كده. So I said خلاص يبقى these two ممكن أشيلهم وأحط مكانهم 1. And then I realized إيه ده طب ما 1B equals 0. And then I looked at the answers and I thought إيه طب ما هي هنا اهي خلاص. You see how it works? So it's not in إحنا, yes, it seems not understandable at the beginning, and not at the beginning. Throughout, it wasn't clear. But there were things that I questioned, and I accordingly started to move. And this is how we should deal with almost every single question, other than the pretty straightforward ones that we've seen earlier. Keep in mind that this is a 57 question. It's supposed to be شوية tricky because of how it looks. It's not a tricky question in the thought of it, but how it looks is scary شوية. That okay?
yes
معلش, I know. But trust me, the next time you see this, you'll feel better about it. I remember quite well, and lots of other normal questions would scare you, but now you're okay with them, and that's how things work. This is one of the harder, if not hardest, questions we've solved, or you can solve so far. So just think about this one, and once we're done with this, I'll ask you to fill in the exit ticket, please. After I explain it to one. 2 minutes starting now.